Hey everyone, it's Marie Verdugo with New You Life Center Med Spa. Yes, I really do exist. And I want to ask you one question. Are you ready for long summer days and hot summer nights? With summer vastly approaching, we at New You have the Physique, a new body treatment that was voted best non-invasive body treatment device of 2022. The Physique was selected for its unique and innovative sequential thermal and electrical pulse step technology, which alternates between deep heat and muscle stimulation in a single session. The Physique is a comfortable treatment, has the ability to target multiple areas at once, and we can customize treatment programs without any downtime. If you or anyone you know is looking to target those stubborn areas where exercise and diet have not been enough, come on over to New You and see what the hype is all about. Check us out in the Biltmore area of Phoenix, Arizona at 4515 North 16th Street, Suite 105, Phoenix, Arizona 85016, or give us a call at 602-274-0068. The results speak for itself. We're talking about hot bods this summer, everyone. So start your journey to a new you. And as always, enjoy this great podcast with my man, Evan Moody, and his best friend, Andrew Gruthius. It's Nothing Worthwhile with Moody and Groo.
Nothing Worthwhile. Mediocre podcasting. Today, tomorrow, forever.
It was a top-secret government project.
Pack them in ice. All of them.
Designed to create the perfect soldier.
No man would ever again have to die in the service of his country.
Cryogenically preserved.
Okay, guys. Memory clearance.
Genetically enhanced.
How's the picture?
Pretty ugly.
Very funny, very funny.
Programmed to obey.
They're at the tower. Okay, here we go.
Who are these guys?
30 hostages held inside the power station at the base of the structure.
I said shut up! We're inside.
Begin phase 2.
This marks the third successful mission for the Universal Soldier.
But there was something they didn't count on.
He's not responding. GR-44, do you read me?
At the end of the mission, he became completely unresponsive.
Inside the machine is a man.
Do you really think the Pentagon would allow the regeneration of dead soldiers?
Stop the girl. Shoot if you have to.
And all it takes
Veronica Roberts, TNA.
is one memory
You didn't do anything!
to awaken him.
Let's go! Hit it!
Traitor. Universal Soldier.
What the hell did they do to you?
Don't know. But I'm going to find out.
One can't be controlled.
Buckle up.
The other cannot be stopped.
This mission has been canceled.
I'm giving the orders from now on. I'm going to teach them all. Are we having fun yet?
The ultimate weapons of the future have declared war on each other. Jean-Claude Van Damme, Dolph Lundgren. Universal Soldier.
Stop. That is an order.
Noxu Cow, everybody. Nothing Worthwhile is back with another brand new award-winning podcast. It's Van DAMMIT, a podcast about Jean-Claude Van Damme. On today's show, 1992's Universal Soldier, directed by Roland Emmerich. The ultimate weapons of the future have declared war on each other, brother. We'll span the universe to give you the latest updates on our favorite 80s action stars. But first, I'm nervous this morning. I'm drinking coffee.
Why are you
I'm
nervous?
agitated. Well, I need to get focused right now, Andy. I need to take one deep breath in.
Go ahead.
One deep breath out.
You're sweating there. What's going on? It must be really hot in Arizona.
It is hot in Arizona. I say, no retreat!
No surrender.
Wow, you really brought the force and momentum to that one. That voice on the other side of the glass. Let's bring him in, my best friend. Happy birthday to one Andrew Gruthius. He's on the East Coast. Andrew, your birthday and whatever else you want to chat about. How the hell are you, my friend?
I'm doing great. Had a wonderful birthday.
What'd you do?
I did what every 47-year-old should do. Woke up around 1 in the afternoon. Had a couple of bagels. Then went and spent the day with my mommy and daddy. We went to see the new Top Gun. And then had dinner, and that was it. That's what birthdays are when we get older, and that's exactly the way I like it. So it was a great day. I gotta tell you, the new Top Gun movie and a nice dinner. That sounds like a great birthday to me. Really, it was. It absolutely was.
Don't give a full blown review, but if you want, give a little taste. What'd you think of Top Gun 2?
Loved it.
Gun Maverick.
Loved it. I won't talk about it. Because I feel like we'll do that, at least part of something. But it's mega entertaining. Tom Cruise is and I'm not the biggest fan of Tom Cruise, but he is a fucking movie star. To me, he's really the last, of the movie stars. And for him to be, he's like 60 something years old. Like maybe early 60s, whatever. And he's
I think he's 58. I do think he's 58.
58, whatever. Okay. He still commands the screen like as good, if not better than anybody else. And the movie is well written, well acted, well directed, every level, a super duper crowd pleaser. I think you'll love it, and I can't wait for you to see it so we can talk about it here. But. Yes,
Marie, myself, and Andrew will most likely be meeting up at the Chandler Mall next weekend.
There you go.
And we will go see Top Gun Maverick. I know my brother wants to see it as well. Groo, on last month's episode of Van Dammit, well, let me wrap it up and say happy birthday.
Thank you again.
We took a long look at Jean-Claude Van Damme with his 1990 prison action thriller Death Warrant. Written by David S. Goyer, who we know would go on to bigger and better things. Mm-hmm. Groo, any final karate kicks to the head on Van Damme and Death Warrant?
Yeah, I mean, look, while I didn't enjoy the movie very much, I enjoyed how we pulled it apart. And in listening to the show back, I actually went and took some of your points and sort of looked at the movie again. I didn't rewatch the whole thing, but I looked at different parts, and it might have been a little better than I gave it credit for at the time.
Can you refresh? What was the points you were looking for?
It's not anything really specific. Just like what bothered me when I watched it the first time was that it just seemed like it felt like a bunch of just scenes put together, and it didn't seem like that this time. It seemed a little more, there seemed to be better continuity for some reason. We're going back a couple of weeks now because this was about a month ago. But it was more fun and more, I was able to understand more and overlook the bad surprises and enjoy the good ones.
Yeah. I think Death Warrant was the first one that I actually had rated slightly higher than you. You've been a little bit more forgiving on this early slate of Van Damme films. But I do think Death Warrant was a little bit of to quote Gary Dell'Abate, a little misstep.
I still think it was a little bit of a step back, but not as big as I originally thought.
Andrew, we have to shift to our traditional topic of pro wrestling on the opener.
Yeah.
MJF, Maxwell, Jacob Friedman, obliterating AEW owner Tony Khan on AEW Dynamite. So, look, I know you're not an AEW fan, neither am I. But you got a chance to watch the promo. I'm actually getting little goosebumps. Want to hear your thoughts on it. you watched the promo.
Yeah.
What'd you think?
Well, the first thing is that Max Friedman has come a long way since his Camp Wayne days, but I've never actually you don't really see many things like that. It was definitely goosebumpy worthy. It was, and this is the first AEW thing that I have watched, so it's like. I'm thinking it's got to be a work. It's got to be part of the thing. Otherwise, they would have ripped him off their TV in 30 seconds. I mean, to have a guy go out there and just take a big giant shit on the company whose air he's using, for them to not, I mean, they seemed like they were trying to cut his mic, but if you wanted to cut the mic, you can cut the mic. You know what I mean? So, I couldn't get past, as effective as the promo was, I couldn't get past the feeling that it was that it was not the shoot that they were going for. I think they tried too hard. I could be way wrong, but but that being said, it was definitely enjoyable, without a doubt. And I'd love and I'm interested to hear about where it goes. Not enough to make me start watching, but definitely interested enough to read and see where it goes from there, without a doubt.
Well, where it's gone is they've now pulled them off, just similar to the Sasha and Naomi deal. They pulled them off the opening signature of the show. They've removed them off of their online website, their online store. They've removed them off of their social media. So I think this is a worked shoot. I agree with you. But like most work shoots, I think there's a lot of truth to what he said, at least in his mind, similar to the CM Punk pipe bomb in 2012. And we know 2 years later, CM Punk was out of the company. I mean, MJF has made it clear that he wants to be WWE bound. His contract, I believe, ends January 1st in 2024, which is still a little bit of a ways away. But he's definitely the hottest free agent in professional wrestling, or soon to be free agent. And from what I've read, the WWE is locked in. And I think the WWE is really smart here. The WWE is getting more selective with their free agencies. But for example, we kind of said on our podcast, Cody Rhodes, you got to get him.
Yeah.
I don't care if it's good or you got to bring him in. You got to get him to WrestleMania. They did.
Well, because it's a story, and that's what sells, right?
Yeah, but I just think it was important in terms of the WWE to get a homegrown guy, an AEW guy, an original AEW guy. He started the whole deal.
Right.
It was good for them to get him back. A lot of people left to go to AEW, and the WWE got shellacked in social media, the wrestling websites, and they took it. They hung in there. They still stayed on top, relatively speaking, and then it was important for them to get their top talent to come to the WWE, where, again, I've always said, if you want to ply your trade at the highest level, World Wrestling Entertainment is where you need to be. And I think MJF is a guy. He's a high-level guy. You imagine him on a Monday Night Raw with the mic and
Hell
Kevin
yeah.
Owens.
But
I mean, it's just...
But one thing that I'm not aware of that maybe you are, I mean, are you able to give me some of the context behind what he was talking about? Because I'd never heard of him until you told me about this promo, so I don't really know what he's talking about.
So he's a guy that was big on the Indies. He went to AEW. He's in what they would call a starter contract, which I think he's getting, let's say, maybe 100, 200,000. And as AEW has grown, they've brought in. I think the promo is really right there with what's going on in his mind. They brought in a lot of ex-WWE guys, CM Punk, Bryan Danielson, Mark Henry, Big Show, Christian, a lot of other, Ruby Soho on the female side. They brought in a lot of ex-WWE talent. Those guys and girls are probably getting paid. I don't know about Punk and Danielson are going to get top money. And they're getting very, very good money. And his thing is basically, I still think there's a lot of truth to it. My ass is at the bottom of the rung, and you're paying these old washed up WWE guys who aren't making a hill of beans or any difference. And, I think that's storyline, and I think it's a lot of truth to it. And, again, I agree with you. I think it is a work shoot. And when I first watched it, I wasn't sure because I hear what you're saying about cutting the mic, but you had the director count him down. He told the director, "Go F yourself." I mean, and I didn't think about some of the things that you said. They could have cut the mic earlier. I think Tony Khan and AEW, they're like supposed to be this, organization that lets the talent kind of run their own creative. So I think they knew giving them a mic was dangerous, but perhaps exciting and could, draw, if not viewership, back page wrestling website stuff where someone like you and me who are not AEW fans might read and go, "Whoa, I got to," because that's how I found out. I read about it.
Right.
I went to YouTube and I said, "Whoa!" I had goosebumps watching this promo, and watching it, I kept on saying to myself, "Man, would I love to have this dude in a WWE ring."
Yeah, me too. And obviously they should be going after him. However, if I'm Tony Khan, I'm like, okay, this is a great story. And this is a great story. This is homegrown guys versus big stars coming in. The little guys out there can relate to this, blue collar workers. They can relate to like patronage type things where, you work your ass off at a company for 10 years and then all of a sudden, the CEO hires his nephew to be your boss, things like that. If I'm Tony Khan, I'm going to try to run with this for at least as long as I'm certainly not going to pay the guy to sit at home until 2024. I'm going to try to run with this because there is good story there. So maybe that'll light a match and start this war up, which, as you know, only makes both companies better.
Speaking of both companies, I know it's a Van Dammit podcast, WWE Hell in a Cell tonight. Groo, any thoughts? You want to pull up the card? We'll go real quick, our thoughts, or you just overall thoughts on the card?
We don't even need to pull up the card. You know why? Because
it's a weird one a weird one for me. I said to you on the phone, or we Zoom chatted a couple of days ago, it feels like a loaded Monday Night Raw, which, by the way, I love a loaded Monday Night Raw.
So do I.
I will be watching, but I don't quite have the tingle or anticipation like I would for, let's say, a SummerSlam or Royal Rumble or even the last pay-per-view, the regular. It just feels a little fillerish. With that being said, the WWE seems to always over-deliver on a premium live event that doesn't have a lot of hype to it.
That's a good point. That's a good point. We mentioned that, like, the WrestleMania Backlash thing was much better than we thought it would be. And I'm hoping for that for this, because the thing here is that there doesn't seem to be much in the way of stakes on this one. And I don't mean Omaha. Thanks, Evan.
Well,
no, the tag team titles aren't going anywhere. The heavyweight titles are not even in the show. I don't even know who's the IC guy. Ricochet, is it still him?
He's not wrestling.
Right. So what are the stakes here? We know that like Riddle and Nakamura, whatever they're doing is just keeping things warm until Orton comes back in some way. Like, so the pay-per-view itself on paper doesn't look like it's got any much meat on it. That said, to your point, they seem to over-deliver when they need to. So maybe they'll make.
Well, I mean, they've taken a upper mid card storyline, Cody Rhodes and Seth Rollins, and they focused the show around. It's weird.
It's like their fourth match already, though, isn't it?
It's their third, and I always remember that Triple H and Batista did 3 matches in which Batista beat Triple H, and then they moved on from there.
But 2 months after he shows up in the WWE, that's all he's been doing since he got here. You know, hey, it's gonna be a great match. I just don't see where it's going after this. You know,
I see either Cody Rhodes winning. I don't think they're going to diminish Cody, or a schmaz kind of DQ or some kind of ending to save.
And then it's 3-0 Cody which hurts Rollins, doesn't it, a little bit?
Nah, I think Seth Rollins he's done such a great job.
That's true. I agree with that. Yeah.
Fairly Teflon. I have some mild interest in the women's match on Raw, just because I think Becky Lynch is doing the best work of her life.
I agree
right
with
now.
that. Yep.
And although I don't see them taking the belt off of Bianca, and you're going to get a nice match between Ronda and Natty for the women's championship on SmackDown. But really, Nat, there's no way Nat and Natalya Neidhart's beating Ronda Rousey for the women's belt.
But with the change, it wasn't this one that changed venues. It was This
was the one that
this was all right.
Yeah.
So they have a chance tonight to send a message to the WWE universe not to write off these smaller pay-per-views. They could do some big things tonight if they choose. And that, and they should take a lesson from the fact that they could not sell out where were they? I forgot.
They were supposed to be at Allegiant Stadium.
Right, okay.
Is this in Vegas? So
yeah,
I think
this
they
is
went
at the
to
MGM Grand now. It's the MGM Grand. So it's WrestleMania 9 basically.
Well, I've read that they sold out MGM
Yeah,
Grand.
but that's not even an arena size. I mean, that's
all right.
Well,
small. What do you?
It was like it's going to remind me of. It's going to remind me of those early Nitros where you saw like the Great Train Store in the background. They were in the mall. Remember those early ones where like Luger's walking to the ring and he's like passes like Auntie Anne's pretzels or something.
What are we at Westbury Music Fair?
Yeah, exactly. But it could be fun.
Parsley, sage, rosemary.
But I'm gonna watch. I'm looking forward to it as always.
I think if the WWE is going to give some significant TV time to guys and girls that are not always main focus on TV, and so like I'm thinking about No Holds Barred again, Madcap Moss, Madcap Happy Corbin. Forgetting about if you don't like the storyline, like those guys will get a decent chunk of time.
Yeah.
If you're Riddick Moss, that's an opportunity for you to get on TV and impress a lot of people. And the other thing is Omos and MVP versus Bobby Lashley. I'll be interested to see that only because MVP is back in the ring and I loved MVP.
Yeah.
I love when they brought him back. I think that could be something fun, but I think you're going to be getting significant TV time to a couple of people that don't always get it, and they could, take the ball and perhaps run with it.
MVP is also, in my opinion, carrying that story. Without him, it doesn't work.
Well, he's a great mouthpiece. Yeah. I think he was a guy they brought back in the pandemic for the Royal Rumble, and they kept him around. And then if you remember, he was the major mouthpiece of the Hurt Business, which was like a major storyline during the pandemic. And actually, I thought that they got rid of those guys too quick. I thought they could have been a pretty cool faction.
And it was funny. It was also funny. Did you see his fuck up on was it SmackDown or Raw?
It was Raw, most likely. He was on SmackDown.
They were. It was the promo. They were just talking smack in the ring, and there was a mistaken close up of MVP giving eye signals to Lashley. Did you catch that?
No, I didn't see that.
Look it up on YouTube. No. You'll see it. It's funny. It's like a slap me moment, a Ken Shamrock slap me moment.
Love that.
Yeah,
love that.
Can't hear anything, but you can see it. So it's pretty funny.
I think of that. I always think of The Rock when he did the promo against Cena, and he looked at his hand. He had notes written on his hand.
Yeah, and then didn't Cena call him out on it?
Yes, he did.
Yeah.
Yes, he did. So. All right, Andrew, Universal Soldier. Groo, Universal Soldier is a 1992 American military science fiction action film directed by Roland Emmerich. Roland Emmerich, who went on to direct Independence Day, from what I've read. He got that film based on perhaps Universal Soldier. Roland Emmerich did The Day After Tomorrow, I believe. He does a lot of stuff with Dean Devlin.
Yeah.
You have any familiarity with Roland Emmerich?
Yeah, you basically said it. He sort of made his bones with this one.
Sorry about that. Good night, everybody.
No. But he kind of reminds me of sort of a Michael Bay type. where like
I absolutely agree. Absolutely agree.
Bigger is better. So it's they're comparable. I would say Michael Bay is probably a little bit better as far as storytelling. I have comments about that for this movie, but
ain't that the hot call in the kettle?
But yeah, look, you got some big hits like Independence Day Resurgence, which I didn't see.
God, it was terrible.
Was it bad?
Yeah.
But 2012, Day After Tomorrow, I think, with Dennis Quaid and Jake Gyllenhaal. That I remember liking that.
Very hackneyed.
They all are, though, aren't they? And I mean, Independence Day was, but it was still massively entertaining.
It had a little bit more charm.
That's true. That's the Goldblum charm. The Jeff Goldblum.
Even Randy Quaid was. I mean, it's so over the top, cheesy, but you know, like when I felt like it was a Roland Emmerich when they did that wide shot of like I think it was like the Hoover Dam.
Yes,
you know, like
it reminded me of that White House shot from Independence
it's just like
Day,
that sweeping. You're like, whoa, I'm not in Kansas anymore.
Yeah.
This is kind of not the typical smaller Van Damme movie.
Yes. Oh, that's a great point because if nothing else, Roland Emmerich took Van Damme to another level.
Okay. Groo, the film tells the story of Luc Devereaux.
Finally, a fitting name. He's not like Scott Wagner or Joe
really?
Greenstein.
I think even Luc Devereaux. It just reminds me of like Hawk Jablonski. Like it's just.
But at least it's kind of a foreign name. He's playing a French. He's playing a Frenchman. And so finally it's, they're not trying to fool anybody.
You know what? I got to get over this whole like French guy in USA. Like I'm just going to look like a French guy, I guess, can be in the U.S. Army. So fuck it. I'm not going to make any comments anymore.
In the Vietnam era, absolutely.
Really?
Yeah.
Actually, I think now would be more apropos.
As opposed to like further back, like in the World War II era.
Oh, like
yeah.
Yeah, he had like a little bitten off cigar, and all right. Well, listen, we know that Luc Devereaux, he's killed in the Vietnam War in 1969 in return to life following a secret military project called the UNISOL, the Universal Soldier Program. However, along the way, he finds out about his past, his memories erased. He escapes alongside a young TV journalist. Along the way, he has to deal with the return of his arch enemy, Sergeant Andrew Scott, played by Dolph Lundgren, who has lost his sanity in the Vietnam War and becomes a psychotic megalomaniac intent on killing him and leading the Universal Soldiers. Andrew, today's Van Damme podcast, Jean-Claude Van Damme, Universal Soldiers, brought to you by New You Life Center. Spread the love. Follow New You Life Center on Instagram to take advantage of their specials and monthly giveaways. Yep. Let's start your journey. Check out all of their programs at www.newlifecenters.com. Whether it is medical weight loss, hormone balancing, medical aesthetics, cosmetic injectables, and laser treatments, give them a call, 602-274-0068. Tell them that Moody and Groo sent you and receive a big 15% off your first service. New You Life Center, a big Van Dammit. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah. I love that guy.
So do I.
And he's not on TV.
Yeah.
Now.
What the hell? Where'd they go?
I don't know. Like those would be guys I would give some TV time if like the main guys were out, Groo, did you know that both Jean-Claude Van Damme and Dolph Lundgren attended the 1992 Cannes Film Festival in order to promote this film? Just outside the festival hall, Van Damme and Lundgren were shown having an argument and then pushing and threatening each other before security guards intervened and stopped them. The brawl between the two became a talking point for the media and was reported on many news channels. However, years later, Dolph Lundgren revealed in an interview that it was all staged to garner publicity for this movie. Van Damme also confirmed this on a 2018 podcast.
I believe that. I mean, of all the places they're gonna, they're gonna get into it. Let's do it in front of the cameras, in front of the world. Of course, it's publicity.
Actually, probably at that time, it was probably a unique idea. You know what I mean? Like,
hey, they
like,
were.
That probably could have been even bigger if it was like in social media times. You know, you get that viral like video clip being passed around.
Well, they do it now. Marvel kind of does it with what's his name, with the guys from the Falcon and the Winter Soldier, like Anthony Mackie, I think his name is, and Sebastian Stan. They're always they're always talking shit about each other. Like it's a gag, but they're just going with it, and it's funny. But yeah, I mean, I didn't know that until you just told me. But you know, I can absolutely look. If I was seeing it through 1992 eyes, I would be like, "Oh my God, this is crazy. This is ridiculous." My cynicism, my 47-year-old cynicism, sees it as, of course it's a work, but a successful work. Why not? Have fun with it. That's something you and I would do at lineup at camp. So
exactly,
if it's good enough for us, if it's good enough for us, it's good enough for them. You know.
Actually, we did it a lot earlier than
exactly. So, we were innovators.
I wonder if they Jean-Claude found a clip from.
Didn't he work as like the martial arts instructor in one year in like 1984?
I thought he was like the dishwasher in the back of the kitchen.
Oh God.
83. Groo, Universal Soldiers rated R for strong graphic violence and for strong language. Universal Soldiers runtime is 1 hour 42 minutes. Groo, let's take a look at the cast of Universal Soldier, and please stop me if you have any comments about the cast. Of course, Jean-Claude as Private Luke Devereaux, GR-44. GR-44. Dolph Lundgren as Sergeant Andrew Scott, GR-13. Ali Walker as Veronica Roberts. I thought she had a very Meg Ryan-ish kind of vibe, you know.
Yes, and I didn't, and she's.
I don't know too much about her.
There's not much to know because I looked up because I was like, I've never seen her before, and she's fun to see. So I was kind of surprised she didn't have a bigger career than she did.
Ed O. Ross as Colonel Perry. He definitely looked familiar.
Yes, he's a pretty well-known character actor. He was in Lethal Weapon, another 48 Hours he was in, and probably a bunch of others that I'm not remembering. But yeah, definite, you know, I would say high B-level character actor there, Ed O. Ross.
Eric Norris as GR-86. Leon Rippey. As
that guy I recognized, actually.
Leon Rippey?
Yeah, Leon Rippey. He's the guy with the weird teeth. And I recognized him from a movie called Eight-Legged Freaks. Which,
I remember that with David Arquette.
Yeah, and I remembered him from a movie with Kevin Spacey called The Life of David Gale. Where he played...
Definitely seen the trailer. I don't know.
It's a bad movie, but he plays a lot of creepy guys because he does have. They don't really show it in this movie, but he does have like a very strange thing going on with his teeth, and it sort of makes him a creepy guy. So he's a good cat.
Don't floss, and you can get a successful acting career.
It's not that. It's just like a Freddie Mercury kind of thing, just natural, something like that.
Michael Jai White is listed as Soldier. I know Michael Jai White went on to a pretty successful sort of B-action movie career.
Yeah, he played Mike Tyson, I think, in a Tyson biopic. I didn't recognize him in this one though.
Yeah, he was in like that one or two scenes when they're like on ice or they're showing all.
Oh, okay, yeah, all right, yeah.
And another one is Zeus.
Yes,
Tommy Tiny Lister.
Rest in peace. He died recently.
Yep. Jerry Orbach as Dr. Christopher Gregor.
That's a big get right there. And even though he only had like one scene, that's a big get.
It is. Save your thoughts for it. But yes, I thought this young man did a pretty good job. He was interesting. Tico Wells as Garth. I thought Garth was one of the more interesting characters.
Yep, liked him. Never really heard of the guy, but he did a good job.
Yeah, Ralph Moeller as GR-76. He was, I think, a pretty big bodybuilder at the time. He was the GR that got shot up, and then when Veronica went to look, he opened his eyes and he had all the stood up. That's pretty much. I mean, you had Ned Bellamy as an FBI agent.
I recognized the actor who played Devereaux's father. That's Rance Howard. That's Ron Howard's father. I did not recognize. I did not recognize the mother.
Lillian Chauvin.
Not familiar with her.
I mean, I have a lot to say about that scene.
Okay, good.
All right.
Definitely a good cast. Definitely a good cast.
Yeah, like Van Damme, surprisingly, so far his movies, they're I think they're like very deep. They're not a lot of big, like splashy names. I mean, obviously Dolph Lundgren's a big splashy name here, but when I think of Van Damme movies so far, I think of like a baseball team that's like decent 1 through 9. Like they're not a lot of big names, but they're people with veteran presence that do a good job. They don't take away from perhaps not the greatest material.
Yeah, well, around this time, yeah, absolutely. Around this time, we did On Deadly Ground a few months ago, and they surround these guys with veteran talent to sort of lift them up. There's nothing wrong with that. They had Michael Caine with Steven Seagal, one of the greatest actors with one of the not greatest actors, but yeah, and like in some of the other Van Damme movies, they surround him with solid talent. That's and they definitely help it, because when you take a star and throw all the money at the star, and then you have to cast everybody around him with these unknown like C and D level people, it really sinks the movie down a little bit. That's what they mean by supporting actors and supporting actresses.
Not to take away from our topic, but I'm just curious. Can you give me an example, perhaps, of a movie where you felt like you had a big name and then the rest of it was just crap and it just took away from the material? I'm just curious.
Everything is just abandoning me right now.
Okay. Well.
No, let me get back to you on that. I know they're out there because I've seen them. It's escaping me at this point. There's got to be a Stallone. There's got to be a Stallone one in there where it's basically all him and then just a bunch of whatevers.
I've always felt that. I always felt that Debbie Does Dallas. I mean, you had the main character Debbie and then the supporting.
Well, no, she was surrounded by a lot of meaty roles, if you want to go there.
Hey, Groo. All right, Groo, let's get this shit started. The plot of Van Damme film, Universal Soldier, we already opened with 1969. U.S. Army is ordered to secure a village against North Vietnamese forces. Luke Devereaux discovers members of his squad and villagers murdered with all of their ears removed. Ew.
Yucky.
That was a little intense. Devereaux finds that his sergeant, Andrew Scott, played by Dolph Lundgren, has gone insane and made a necklace of severed ears. He's holding a young couple hostage. Devereaux is near the end of his tour of duty because he says, Sarge, I want to go home. Tries to reason with him, and Andrew Scott executes the man. The young man kills him and orders Devereaux to shoot the girl to prove his loyalty. Devereaux refuses, tries to save the girl, but she is killed by a grenade thrown by Scott. They shoot each other to death, and a couple of moments later, U.S. Army forces land. Some big shot says, military big shot says, put them on ice and zip them up.
That was at Ross.
No, it was no, it was a different guy because it was like a black Army sergeant or something. He said, bag them. They get bagged.
Oh yeah, we're still in 69. Yeah, we're still in 1969.
Yeah.
Sorry.
And they're zipped up, and we learned that they're cryogenically frozen. Did you feel that opening scene was trying to go for a little apocalypse now-ish kind of vibe there? I don't know.
No.
What were your thoughts with what was your thoughts of the opening stanza?
Okay, I'm glad you asked that because the answer is no, but it could and should have been. Now follow me here, okay? that the entire thing you just described was pre-opening credits. All right, so by the time we know the title of the movie, we already know that these two guys were in Vietnam, they killed each other, and now all of a sudden, 20 years later, they are these Unisols. I think that they should have gone deeper into their relationship, like maybe the whole platoon. That opening sequence should have been the first act of the movie. This movie should have been 20 minutes longer. I wanted to see more of their interaction in Vietnam. I wanted to know more about Devereaux and Scott as characters, of who they were before this whole thing happened, even though they do a lot of exposition and they show us very little, but they tell us a lot. I would have liked to have seen more, because that whole thing seemed like kind of like the My Lai massacre from 1968, where, American soldiers were killing these North Vietnamese citizens, or the villagers. And I would have liked to have seen more of that and more of the PTSD that Lundgren's character had, and know more about the family that Van Damme had back home. Like that first sequence, I would have liked to have seen much more of. So the answer is no, it wasn't like Apocalypse Now, but it should have been. That's my take on it.
Interesting take. I thought also, and again, I don't know what you think of this criticism. I actually thought it looked a little cheap. It looked so much like a set, that Vietnam piece. It just looked very like you could almost see the water machine at the top sprinkling. I don't know. I just, for Roland Emmerich, and I know it's maybe the beginning of his career, the rest of the movie looked pretty, to quote Howard Stern, gorgeous. But I felt like I was watching like a Hollywood set, that whole Vietnam thing. It looked a little boxish. I don't know. I don't know why my eyes were drawn to that, but
I would have to. Yeah. This was my second time watching it. The first time was in the movie theater, so I'm watching it through. I have two completely different reactions. My thoughts about that, I didn't really notice it this time, but I know why. The reason is because one of those guys is giving a great performance and chewing the hell out of the scenery. And I was too focused on that. And that would be Lundgren. I thought he was playing a fucked up soldier very, very well in that opening part. So I was kind of focused on him. And so I really didn't, I just didn't notice, what you're talking about. I mean, I can sort of see it in hindsight, but it didn't bother me because I was too busy enjoying the interplay between the two leads, especially Lundgren. So I didn't really notice it.
Interesting point, Groo. Devereaux and Scott's corpses are reanimated decades later. Their memories are.
But see, they didn't even show us that. Wouldn't you have liked to have seen that?
I want to finish my.
Okay, all right, go ahead.
Let me finish my. Okay. Let's go to the next scene. Because I have some thoughts on the next scene.
Okay. Go ahead.
Okay, so look, we know that they end up basically, they're universal soldiers and an elite counterterrorism unit, and they're deployed to the Hoover Dam to resolve a hostage situation. The universal soldier team demonstrates their superior training and physical ability against terrorists. When GR-76, played by Ralph Moeller, withstands close-range rifle fire, the area is secured. Obviously, the universal soldiers wipe out the terrorists, and Luke Devereaux begins to regain memory from his former life upon seeing two hostages who strongly resemble the villagers he tried to save in Vietnam, causing him to disobey commands from the control team and become unresponsive. Now, Andrew, so we get that first action sequence.
Right.
The terrorists, very standard stuff, kind of for action movies. They disarm the terrorists pretty easily. Showing this great ability of the Unisols. What'd you think about that next scene?
Well, it's exactly what you described. Definitely well done. Definitely exciting, but it seemed to be missing something. So what you said, interestingly enough, reminded me of that opening scene in the movie Cobra. Do you remember how they've got this problem? Then here comes Sly onto the scene.
Yes.
Oh, all right, now, the guy is here. So
now we're cooking.
Yeah. Exactly. So that's what this kind of reminded me of. And yes, I would have liked to have seen more, like, because they get zipped up, movie starts, Universal Soldier, here we are. Now all of a sudden we're 20 years later and they're already in action. I would have liked to have seen who started this thing, why they did what some of the process was. It was too big of a jump. So I wasn't invested enough in the characters to love this scene the way I could have. So there should have been more meat to it.
This is where I feel there should have been more exposition. You get a little taste of it at the end of the movie with the Orbach scene, but like, how does somebody become what was the changeover? I agree with you. Like, I watched this movie and I went, if they really took this franchise seriously, there's a damn good prequel there.
Yes.
What was the beginnings of this? Because they kind of hint that it's a shadow organization, the creating the Universal Soldiers, that the Pentagon wasn't aware of it.
Yeah, it's almost like they're cutting stuff out just to get to the action. What did the guys go through physically? I mean, they're dead, the corpses, but what was the process to become a Universal Soldier? And again, there's only so much time in a movie, but I hear about what you're talking about from the first scene, but you kind of, like, you're basically establishing Lundgren's the bad guy, Van Damme's the good guy. I hear what you're saying. You could debate, in my eyes, here is where I would have liked more exposition. Like, I agree with you. All of a sudden, it's 50 years later, and there are these elite machines, and I don't know how the hell they got there. Right, who was behind it? What was the process to become a Universal Soldier? I don't know. Plus, they're starting to snap out of it right away, right? Right, and just them two are starting to snap out of it right away. Like, they don't.
Well, Van Damme does. I don't know if they've hinted, Lundgren, but certainly.
Yeah, Van Damme goes first, but then right behind him is Lundgren turning back into Andrew Scott. And then that's the plot of the movie. The plot of the movie is mano a mano.
Yeah, I can't wait till we get to the reviews because I had so many thoughts about this. But
the interesting thing you said about exposition, you know what the big exposition here was? It was so cheap and it bothered me. The newswoman. She, Ali Walker, the actress.
The CNA reporter?
Yes, CNA. And she literally comes on the screen just to tell us the plot. Just to tell us what these Unisols are. Like, that's her opening scene right there. And actually they do a good job in turning it into a plot device, her getting fired and whatever. But it's just, you say about exposition, that's not the kind of exposition we need,
Right. You're having a terrorism event and she just drives her car past like a 2-mile barricade. She drives her old station wagon, and she's like, CNA, and they're like, oh,
yeah, go right in, yeah, sure.
Go right in.
And then you're fired.
Yeah, right, it's military.
All right, did she tell the audience what they need to know? Okay, all right, you're done. Goodbye.
Right, now you're fired.
Yeah.
And we know that she's edgy because she smokes a cigarette.
Yes. In 1992, that was the edgy thing to do. Now,
that's right.
It is not. It is not cool. Kids.
Right. The only thing edgier would have been she did a shot, then smoked a cigarette before she went on TV.
While she was driving the car to the event.
Groo, the Unisols are revealed to be a genetically augmented soldier with enhanced self-healing abilities and superior strength, but they also tend to overheat and shut down. I was like, oh, what is – I thought of Dark Fate right away with the whole, like, it was the same deal. Like, I wonder if they copped that storyline. The augmented girl from Dark Fate, she also would get overheated and she had to cool down.
They kind of did. But again, that's a great, that kind of sets it apart. It's funny you mentioned Terminator because until then, that's all these things were. They were They were Terminators. They were like coming off an assembly line. They were cybernetic organisms, right?
Yeah, but I mean, let's go there.
That's fine.
This movie is completely derivative of Terminator. It's
right.
Completely.
That's perfectly fine. The problem here right now with this part is that you just described a scene that doesn't happen until 3/4 of the way through the movie. We didn't know about this cooling thing until it actually happened to Van Damme when was it? It was very deep into the movie, I thought.
Yeah, I don't know if I would go.
And then she puts him in ice, and that's when they're hiding out.
No, they escape. No, hold on. They escape, and they go to the hotel, which has that creepy motel owner.
Yeah.
He gets a little bit of some. Okay,
right.
And he explains. He passes out. He explains he needs to cool down. Of course, conveniently next to a hotel is an ice machine or a motel.
Yeah, those are like $2 a piece at 7-Eleven. What are we doing over there?
And of course, we get which has become tradition now, the Van Damme ass cheek shot of him. He gets completely naked. And
the way they filmed it. The way they filmed it from heel to all the way up, I know because I rewound it like 25 different times. I'm just kidding.
Exactly. And then I froze it when he was laying there naked in the tub with all the buckets, the bags of ice.
Be honest. At first when the shot was happening, did you think it was her? Because I didn't.
No, it was him.
I know. I'm kidding. It was so gratuitous, but.
They're given a neural serum to keep their minds susceptible, and their memories are suppressed. Because of the glitch, Woodward, played by Leon Rippey, one of the technicians of the project, feels removing Devereaux from the team. He wants to remove Devereaux from the team until he can be further analyzed. But Unisol Commander Colonel Perry, played by Edo Ross, refuses. And, of course, Andrew, as we said, TV journalist Veronica Roberts, played by Ali Walker, she's snooping around. She's trying to get the story on the Unisol project. She sneaks into the base with the cameraman. She discovers GR-76, played by Rafe Moeller, immersed in ice, still alive despite normally fatal injuries. Her presence is noted. Devereaux and Scott are ordered to capture her dead or alive. She flees with her cameraman's car, but they crash. Scott coldly murders the cameraman against orders before Devereaux stops him from shooting Roberts. And then, of course, Devereaux and Roberts escape. We've already fast-forwarded to the motel. He has to take an ice bath. The Unisols completely destroy the motel, but Devereaux and Roberts hide. That was a little bit of a unique scene. They were hiding in bed with the couple.
Oh yeah. Yeah, that was
their head out.
Yeah, there are some good ideas.
The couple flees to a gas station. Here, they get the car and they leave, and so. I'm sorry, but here I just felt like we are in Terminator, Terminator mode.
Well, that's what the movie morphs into. Now it's a chase movie. Chase movie, right?
Exactly, but but there's just not enough distinguishing it from a typical chase movie or from the Terminator.
We're in agreement here.
All right.
I'm trying not to give too much away, but we are in complete agreement here. I'll say this more at the end, but I feel that there is a 3-hour version of the script for this movie lying around somewhere that they chopped up in the editing.
Well, yeah, there's definitely a cool origin story here. Colonel Perry, he tries to terminate the mission after the failure. Right. Is Colonel Perry no. I mean, I think the scientist, Leon
Rippey, Woodward, he was like, I'm out of this. He was like, I'm out. I'm done with this. And Perry is like, no, you're not, pal. That's what I think you're referring to.
Right. Scott then takes control of the mindlessly obedient Unisol team, commanding them to kill Devereaux and Roberts. Using information from stolen documents, Roberts contacts a doctor linked to the program. Roberts and Devereaux meet Dr. Christopher Greger, played by Jerry Arbach, that was very unique, who informs them that the Unisol project was started in the 1960s to develop the perfect soldier. Although they were able to reanimate dead humans, they were never able to overcome the body's need for cooling. The other major problem is that memories of the last moments of their life are greatly amplified. Scott believes he is still in Vietnam fighting insurgents. When Devereaux and Roberts leave the doctor's home, they are caught and arrested by the police. En route to jail, the police convoy is ambushed by Scott in GR-76. The chase ensues, ending when the police bus and the Unisol truck both drive off a cliff in the Grand Canyon and explode, killing GR-76. Devereaux and Roberts head to Devereaux's family's farm in Louisiana. Oh, that's a lot of stuff, but Groo, we talked about it even earlier in the podcast and off mic. What'd you think of Jerry Orbach, Dr. Christopher Greger? What'd you think of that whole scene, that whole reveal?
Well, it gave us information that we definitely needed to have at that point. Great actor in Jerry Orbach. I was hoping he would do it in song. You know, he would do like his Beauty and the Beast song, Be Our Guest. That was him. But yeah, I mean, look, it's like you said, it is now a chase movie. It's like they're hiding out. They're learning. Oh, okay. Now we got to go here and get some information, and then we're going to go to the family. We're going to hide out there. They're definitely going to come and get us here. This is where the final showdown is going to be. Like, you can blueprint this whole thing out from beginning to end, especially, you know, at this point in the movie. With that being said, the scenes are effective. It was a good scene. Why? Because there's talent there. Jerry Orbach is a talented actor, and he sold that scene as the doctor. That's what you got to do.
Okay, and again, I don't know if this is a dumb question, but when I thought about the Jerry Orbach scene, did it feel organic to the movie, or did it feel like a hired hand was brought in to give the movie a little gravitas? You got a big name, you know. It feels. I'm just curious your thoughts on it.
Yeah, a little bit. It felt like, you know, like J.K. Simmons in Terminator. Was he in Dark? Yeah, was he in Dark Fate or Genesis? One of the two. It felt like
but Dark Fate's a major production with.
This was too at the time. I remember this was too, but
okay.
Yes, I agree with you. He should have been in more than just the one scene, because he wasn't. That's what this feels like. Like him, we could have seen him earlier in that first part that doesn't exist that I was talking about. So we know who he is, and then we spend all this time with these two guys, we almost forget about him, and then you say, oh, here's the guy again, you know. So it's a double reveal. But instead, because we're just meeting him for the first time, even though he's like the catalyst behind this whole thing, you know, yes, it does stick out like a sore thumb. You're absolutely right.
Yeah, maybe you could add an actor play a young Christopher Greger.
Exactly.
Yeah. What did you think of that chase scene with the police?
The bus?
I felt like, I feel like here, Lundgren's, it's beginning to turn a little over the top-ish, a little bit like, are we having fun yet? Like, it just,
yes,
it started to get a little B-movie-ish kind of feel here for me.
But, and I agree with you, but at the same time, it didn't look B-movie-ish because it was obviously,
no.
I know
it's
yes,
starting to go a little bit like parody, perhaps. I don't know, a little cartoony.
The reason that I didn't feel like that is because I really was enjoying Lundgren, doing what he was doing. Like I really did enjoy his performance in this movie. I have to repeat that. Listen, so that didn't bother me.
I did enjoy his performance, and actually after the movie, I bought 2 ear necklaces from Amazon.
And did a DVD copy of Red Scorpion come with that?
It did.
Good.
You must have gotten the same thing on your Amazon account.
I definitely
did. Luke Devereaux, by the way, he's reunited with his parents. I mean, they're just like, oh, hi.
Yeah.
The guy, like, hello, son, the Patros is waiting on the kitchen for you.
And it's funny how the mother is so deeply French, but the father, I don't even think he says a word. I knew who he was because I recognized him, and he's as American as apple pie, the actor. So I guess that's why.
The crepes are in the
crepes. Yeah, the crepes.
And of course, we get the nighttime scene. I think Veronica goes to leave. Ali Walker character, she goes to leave, and Scott appears. He takes the family and Roberts hostage. A brutal fight ensues, and Scott's use of the muscle enhancers enables him to beat Luke Devereaux mercilessly. Roberts manages to escape, only to be seemingly killed by a grenade, in sort of a callback to the earlier scene. Devereaux grabs the muscle enhancer Scott has used and injects himself, now evenly matched. Devereaux fights back and impales Scott on the spikes of a hay harvester before, of course, we get the jump scare. He's not dead. Pops up, he grabs, I think, his head, and then, of course, Devereaux, Jean-Claude activates the machine, which grinds Scott to death. And then, of course, they had grilled Scott burgers on the barbecue afterwards.
That actually reminds me of the earlier scene, which I actually enjoyed when Scott was throwing the grenades onto the bus and they kept having to pick them up and throw them out. I enjoyed that. I actually enjoyed that scene. I did.
So silly.
It was, but it was fun.
Like somebody's going to pick up a live grenade. Of course,
that was set up. Did you catch the subtle setup for that? Because we knew that a grenade takes 30 seconds from when the pin comes out, because when the doctor, Woodward, earlier in the movie, he tried to kill himself. Right. He's like, here, hold this.
For 30 seconds.
Pull the pin hold it for 30 seconds. And he was just standing there. So that kind of sets up that we know that every time this grenade comes onto the bus, she's got 30 seconds to find it and get it out of there, you know?
Yeah.
Very cool.
Veronica Roberts is revealed to survive the explosion, and Devereaux and she embrace. One thing about the final fight, I thought it was it's a typical final fight, atmospheric. You got the rain, you got the glistening muscles, of course, the big comeback. I think there's a big nod to Blade Runner in this one. I think he gets hit and he says, well, that's the spirit. That's definitely a line from the ending fight.
I didn't pick that up, but yeah.
And Harrison Ford. I think there's a few nods to a couple of movies throughout Universal Soldier.
Nod equals ripoff?
Well, we'll find out in your final review. Andrew, what did you think of the final fight, the ending of Universal Soldier?
Well, look, you said basically everything. It's somewhat generic, but it was still entertaining.
It was.
It looked good. The performances sold it. So yes, this whole movie from the opening credits on, it was paint by numbers, but that doesn't mean that it was bad. So, and this ending was paint by numbers as well. You knew exactly what was going to happen. You knew that, Van Damme was going to get the injection and that he was going to overpower. You didn't know exactly how he was going to do it, but you knew that that's the way it was going to end. And that's actually one of my chief complaints about the movie, which I'll get to in the final review. But I enjoyed the scene. Just like I'm enjoying every scene in the movie. I really am. But the problem is what's not there. That's what was bothering me during the movie. So
you're watching it, and I feel like I felt the same way. You're watching it, but you're longing for more.
Yes.
Longing for better.
That's exactly how I felt.
Andrew, you want to take a gander at the budget for Universal Soldier?
Yes. And I thought about this as I was watching it, because you gotta factor in the company behind this movie was Kuroko, which was coming off of Terminator 2, which was a huge hit. So they had some money now. The movie looks very good. Save for your opinion of that opening scene in Vietnam. I think I thought it looked a little better than you thought it looked. But Van Damme was still not a superstar. So how much are they going to throw at this? I'm going to say this is like a $20 million budget, around there, like $19-20 million.
Is that your final answer?
That's my final answer, yeah.
All right, Braxton, lock him in on $20 million. Andrew, I've always said Andrew's he's very good at this. I have the production budget for Universal Soldier at $23 million.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
It looks like it looks like that for that time. Yeah. Today, this movie,
Andrew?
like, if that were made today, it'd be over $100 million, I'm sure.
Yeah, most likely, yes. Groo, box office, I just have one number. I have domestic worldwide. It's the same. So you want to take a gander at the total box office?
Yeah, I was thinking
Universal
about this
Soldier.
too. All right, now I'm going back in time because I'm remembering when this came out. It was 1992.
Evan Moody went to the movie theater.
So did I. But I remember, because you know me, I've been I was a movie buff then. So I read the trades, I read all that stuff, and I remember that this was considered to be a surprise hit. But I also remember that any movie that made over $100 million back then was like a huge deal. Now it's like if it doesn't make $100 million, it's a failure. And I don't remember this movie getting to that threshold. So, but I remember it being very popular. I'm going to go with, I'm going to say it came just before that 100 million. I'm going to say like 93, $94 million, around there. I think it came close to 100 million, but didn't quite get there. So like 93, 45, around there. Unless
I'm wrong, I have domestic worldwide, 36 million.
What?
299, 36299,898. Yep.
That's it? Wow.
That's what I have.
Wow, that's very surprising. I remember this movie being very popular.
Opening weekend, made over 10,000 in 1,916 theaters. It was released on July 10th.
No, that's 10. That's got to be 10 million.
Oh yeah, you're right. I'm sorry.
So it makes $10 million in its first weekend and only tops out at 38?
Oh man, hold on. Now I feel terrible. I better make sure this is right.
Why?
Box office for Universal Soldier. Box office.
There are like 7 of these movies too. I've only seen this one.
Yeah. Andrew's right.
What? About what?
Now I'm looking at my phone and it says 95 million.
95.
I totally fucked up.
Wow.
I fucked up. My bad.
Damn.
Box office 95 million. I'm sorry. You're right.
I am good.
You're right.
Wow.
You're right.
Yeah, I remember. Don't you remember this movie being pretty popular?
But then it's so funny because I went to Box Office Mojo and it lists 36 million. But the other websites, Wikipedia has it at 95 million. So I will not use Box Office Mojo anymore.
But I just remember, I would say Box Office Mojo is more accurate than a Wikipedia. But at the same time, don't you remember it being pretty popular? I mean, this was a big deal because it was a two-hander. It was Van Damme and Lundgren coming together. I mean, that was a selling point. I remember this was and $10 million to open a weekend in 1992. That's a hit. You know?
Well, I effed up. So
no, come on.
You are correct. No, I don't like that. I did a bad job on that one. So, Groo, let me give you a taste of the critical response to 1992's Universal Soldier. Rotten Tomatoes gave Universal Soldier.
Wait. Can I guess the Rotten Tomato?
Yes, give me your tomato meter score, which is the critics.
Okay, the critics would definitely hate this movie. So I'm going to say they're probably no higher than like 25%.
25%. Let's lock them in. Andrew, yes, Rotten Tomatoes. I have a tomato meter score of 34%.
All right, that's impressive. That's impressive. That's impressive for a movie like this, I have to say.
Really? 34%?
For a Jean-Claude Van Damme movie in 1992 to get, more than 10% to get a critical review that's positive. These actors didn't get those kind of reviews. They did later on, like in hindsight. Like I remember when Kindergarten Cop came out, like critics didn't like it. Now they love it. because they saw it for they didn't see it for what it was back then, but they see it for what it is now. So that's a high number for me. That's surprising, and I'm glad.
What do you think Rotten Tomatoes, the audience score? What do you think they gave Uni?
I think it's probably higher because this is definitely somewhat of a crowd pleaser. I'm going to say
audience score is always higher.
Always higher, but I think there's going to be a big difference here. I'm going to say, you said what? They had 34% critics. I'm going to go 65% audience or higher.
Ooh, audience score of 46%.
Wow. All right, I'm off on this one. Boy.
Metacritic, 0 to 100. Do you want to take a gander at what score they gave?
But this is totally throwing me off.
Based on 15 critical reviews.
All right, so this is a critic one. So I'll say 30.
35.
35. Okay.
Metacritic users gave Universal Soldier a score of 7.3. Roger Ebert gave Universal Soldier 2 stars, stating, "It must be fairly thankless to play lunks who have to fight for the entire length of a movie while exchanging monosyllabic idiocies." Empire Online gave Universal Soldiers 3 stars, stating, "Take a pair of second-string Hulks, give them the kind of budgetary backup Arnie and Sly would expect, then set them loose on a script which mixes sci-fi, martial arts, exploding gas stations, sadistic wisecracks, and post-Vietnam angst, and what you've got is Universal Soldier."
I couldn't agree more with that review. That's the ultimate review.
The floor is yours. On a scale of 0 to 5 medals of honor, Groo, what'd you think? What's your final review of Universal Soldier?
My final review of Universal Soldier is going to be 3 out of 5 medals of honor. I did enjoy it. For all the reasons that I've said, I particularly enjoyed Dolph Lundgren's performance. I was surprised by it. He showed the kind of range that we really have only recently discovered that he has in the Creed sequel, from my perspective anyway. And I see him as much more of an actor. I really thought he played a PTSD scarred Vietnam soldier very well. He was a nut job. He was an absolute psychopath. And I really enjoyed when he was on screen. I felt Van Damme underplayed it, and I didn't like that. I felt he should have been a little more. He was like the goody two-shoes kind of guy. I like the idea of him like wanting to go home, but then he morphs into, he's almost emasculated by Veronica. He's like the sad puppy kind of being led around, and then when it comes time to fight, he fights. But he's definitely gets blown off the screen by Lundgren in this. And I was disappointed in his performance. I felt like he could have done a lot more. I think that might be a directing issue. But what that review said that I completely agree with is, yes, now you've got a budget, you've got, actors in place, you've got all the ingredients for exactly what they said. The reason that I don't like it more, I really enjoyed what was there, but I couldn't help but keep being reminded of what seemed to be missing, and that gives us the missing 2 medals of honor in my review. I really wish that there was more, because I felt that the performances and the budget and everything else deserved more time. And the movie didn't seem to have much respect for its audience. We could have used more. So, and it's weird for me to say a movie should be longer. Usually we're saying, oh, it's a little too long, we should cut it down a little bit. This one I think was cut down too much. I think there might, hopefully there's like a director's cut out there. I'd like to see more of it.
Interesting.
Yeah. So 3 out of 5.
We'll have to research that. All right, Andrew, I'll take a gander at Universal Soldier. What I liked about the movie, I agree with you. There's a big budget feel here. It feels like a Roland Emmerich movie. It's big, definitely budget. I think some of the acting is really good here. Again, I mentioned Tico Wells as Garth. There's some comedy relief here. And I think Dolph Lundgren is deliciously over the top as Sergeant Andrew Scott, GR-13. What I disliked about the movie...
Take it back.
I mean...
Let it go.
Yeah, I was disappointed. The movie to me is very derivative of Terminator. You got a couple of bits of Rambo in here. You got a couple of nods to Blade Runner. And I absolutely agree with you. I actually think this is the worst performance that Jean-Claude has put forth up to this point. He's just very blasé.
It's not his movie.
As GR-44.
Yeah.
And I think for me, it bailed on the whole Universal Soldier thing.
Yes.
Way too early.
I'm glad you said that. Yes. Keep going.
It feels like as the movie progresses, they're just two guys now, and it's like
everybody else disappeared. Where did the doctors go? Where did they all go? They're after the second act. They're gone.
No, but I mean, like they're androids. They're augmented soldiers, and once they rip off those cool eyepieces, they're just like regular guys.
Exactly.
It felt like as the movie went along, they went from GR-44 to Luke Devereaux, and it lost sort of that specialness. He just became like all of a sudden a regular guy, and I wish they would have hung on to that Universal Soldieress. Keep that headgear on. Keep them. You want to you want him to do like an Arnie, like with a little funny line every once in a while.
Right.
I have no problem with it, but it just all of a sudden it went. I felt like Luke Devereaux was the same guy in Terminator trying to keep the girl safe. Like he was just he was a regular guy, and Andrew Scott went to Andrew Scott over the top.
Right.
There was nothing universal or soldierous about those characters.
And to that point, that's what I mean about we needed more. I would have rather have seen a slower transition from them, and even that would be a ripoff of Terminator, but I don't care. Because you know how the whole thing with Terminator is the more time that the Terminator spends in the Earth surroundings, the more human he becomes, or the more he understands humanity. I would have liked to have seen, since that's where this movie was going, where these guys were going to eventually turn back into their former selves, give us more. Don't just they snap the fingers and here they are soldiers. They snap the fingers and then they're out of it again. And now it becomes exactly that. A chase movie. It's not about the Universal Soldiers. It's not about the Unisols. It's about Scott versus Devereaux, and they lost the gimmick of the movie.
Yeah, even like when he goes to his parents' house, they've lost 50 years.
Yes,
I think.
And the movie stops dead in its tracks in that scene, I think.
Well, they're like, oh, hey, Luke.
And now let's sit here, have some tea and crumpets, and wait for the bad guys to come.
Yeah. Your Dower Strawberry poster is still up in your room. I mean, for me,
that's funny.
I can't give it 2 stars, but I'll give it 2.5 medals of honor. It's hackneyed. It's derivative. Some parts are better than others. Look, I'll give it an extra 0.5 for the Ice-T Body Count song at the end.
There you go. Yeah, body count.
Body count. Body count. Body count. Body count.
But wouldn't you say? So for all its flaws, though, didn't you still enjoy it? I did.
I did. Sometimes we say there are movies that we enjoy some of the pieces more than the sum of the parts. And then sometimes there are movies where we're like, oh, this part was terrible. But at the end, we can say, we enjoyed the movie. I definitely enjoyed it. I watched it a little bit differently than I've done in the John Claude. Like I usually had my notes right in front of me with the plot. I just put my notes away and I just watched it, and I took some notes as I was watching it. And I think I got a better feel for the movie. I did enjoy it. But I got to be honest, I was disappointed. And speaking to you today, I'm even more disappointed because there is.
I do that to people.
There's perhaps not a great origin story, but there's a comp like that. There could have been like if it was coming out today, you could have had cool graphic novels and prequels and how did the Unisol project. That's like a lot of great stuff that perhaps can be mined now. They've released a couple of sequels. I'm going to guess that they're all kind of hackneyed and have not done very well, but I'm sure we'll watch them at some point for Van Dammit and we'll give our thoughts. But there is a cool origin story there, but the first chapter is disappointing. And also, I think even when I went to see it in the theater as a young man, there was high expectations here because it's with Dolph Lundgren.
Right.
You got two pretty big stars, and I think even when I watched it, I think as a young man I was a little bit disappointed when I left the theater.
I remember liking it a lot when I left the theater, but I liked everything I went to see at that age. You walk out. Really? I walked out of Rocky V and be like, "Oh, best Rocky ever." Then like a week later, I'm like, "Oh my god, that sucked." Because you're amped up after you see a movie, and you're like, "Yeah, man, that was awesome." And then but that's when you're younger. Now we're critics while we're watching. We don't let ourselves enjoy just what's there. And like now, I try to enjoy what's there, but I could not get past what wasn't there. And that's why I was disappointed in it from this age. But I still give it 3 because I really did enjoy the experience of watching it. I just enjoyed it for what it was.
And I think, though there's not a lot of it in the movie, I would have toned down the martial arts and been more like hand-to-hand combat because he's like a soldier, and I'm not aware that soldiers are maybe some are, karate experts. Like that last fight, he's doing the typical Van Damme double kick.
Well, they had kind of held that back for most of the movie.
That's true.
So, but you're right. But you're right about that. It should have been too. Look, he was playing a. There's no reason not to think that some of these guys don't have private training in martial arts, but that came off as like, oh, it's a Van Damme movie. We got to include, his trademark, chopsaki stuff.
I'm still waiting as a viewer of as a guy heading up this podcast. I'm still waiting for that money shot. I'm still waiting for that Van Damme movie that combines budget, story, acting. And again, don't know if we're ever going to get it where you're like, it hits on all cylinders. Like Bloodsport, I love Bloodsport, but my expectations are low. Yeah. He's a beginning actor. There's a charm there, and there's a charm with the small budget and some of the things they did to kind of work around it. There's a charm there that I just didn't feel in this movie. And boy, I agree with you. I think obviously Dolph Lundgren is a much bigger presence here, and he does a great job. But I felt like he even goes into a little bit of but Van Damme is just so blasé here. There's nothing.
He probably thought he was being like introspective and like acting with his eyes, but it just didn't fly. Not in this movie. But even the music sounded like Rambo.
And they go for that Terminator look, very industrial at time, trucks and metal.
Most of it's at nighttime, Yeah.
And I feel bad because I want to as a you and I running this podcast, I want to be like, damn it, Van Damme hit it on the mark here, this movie, and the last couple have been mixed, and now as we begin as he begins to step it up, I'm hoping.
Well, there is one that I'm sure we're going to do at some point that I'm really looking forward to watching because
me too, but don't say it.
I won't say what it is, but I saw it in the theater and I remember loving it in the theater, but that was 20-something years ago. So I am really looking for. There's one specific one that I'm really looking forward to watching again, and viewing it through these old 47-year-old eyes.
All right, Andrew, you want to span the universe?
I would love to span the universe with you anytime.
All right, Groo, let's check out the latest news on our favorite 80s era action stars.
Van Dammit, spanning the universe.
What kind of production do you have here?
No, I have to play our intro.
Yes. Thank you, Andrew.
Who's it brought to you by?
Okay.
Who's bringing it to us today?
I'm all thrown now. Spanning the Universe is brought to you by New You Life Center. Begin a new you. Check out their medical weight loss programs at www.newlifecenters.com. Give them a call at 602-274-0068. Tell them that Moody and Groo sent you and receive a big 15% off your first service. New Life Center and Van Dammit. We're in this journey together. Two great tastes joining together, just like Jean-Claude and
Dolph Lundgren.
Dolph Lundgren. A big Van Dammit thank you to New Life Center. Groo, he may not be a member of the last of the Action Heroes podcast network yet, but Andrew called him one of, if not, boy, I wonder what my notes I have here. Andrew has said he's one of, if not the biggest movie star of all time. Andrew already referenced Tom Cruise in the Top Gun 2 sequel, Maverick. Groo, last Monday, Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1 dropped its first trailer. Let's take a look and get your thoughts. It's the trailer for Top Gun Mission Impossible. I think it's Dead Reckoning Part 1.
Mm-hmm.
Here we go.
All right.
Your days of fighting for the so-called greater good are over. This is our chance to control the truth, the concepts of right and wrong from everyone for centuries to come. You're fighting to save an ideal that doesn't exist. Never did. You need to pick a side.
Interesting stunt there. This dude just prints money. Unreal.
Andrew Gruthius, Mr. Gruthius, thoughts as the Tom Cruise train keeps a-rolling.
Well, actually, I saw that trailer. It was played yesterday before the movie, before Top Gun Maverick. And until the final moments of the trailer, when they start playing the Mission Impossible theme, I was thinking like, all right, this could be any one of like 5 Tom Cruise franchise movies, like Jack Reacher or Mission Impossible or Top Gun, whatever. Now, I guess you're probably going to be surprised at this statement, but I have not seen one Mission Impossible movie.
I'm not surprised by that.
I don't really have interest in them or this. But with that being said, I know they're supposed to be a lot of fun. I've heard many of them are excellent. This looks to be like a terrific movie. I feel like I would have to start at the beginning, and that's a lot of movies ago.
No.
Yeah,
the first one was like a real, almost a serious action movie. If I remember correctly, the first one, the action was kind of muted. It was a lot of plot. Jon Voight was in it. And then the second one was John Woo, and they started to transition really to more pure action. And as I'm watching the trailer and thinking about my thoughts that I might say to you about this, I have seen the last. Now here's the thing: I've seen the last couple. I couldn't tell you one fucking thing about them, except that I walked out enjoying it for what it's worth. It's sort of like a higher quality Fast and the Furious kind of deal.
I've seen none of those either.
Okay, well, it's become the first one again was kind of like real serious espionage, and now it's become almost
cartoonish
kind of action movie. Oh, just real over the top action kind of thing. But I don't know. Tom Cruise, he does it super, super well. And
I mean, yes, you know,
This looks really good to me. It's not going to be like I wouldn't go see it opening weekend, or if something else I wanted to see, I wouldn't. But if it's a quiet weekend and I wanted to go to a movie, hell yeah, I would go see Mission Impossible.
Yeah, definitely looks like fun. And my Tom Cruise stock has risen since yesterday, because just really, when you see them when you see them deliver on something to the level that they should, you give them credit where it's due. And I have to say that, you know, the Top Gun sequel did everything that it should have done and more, and I credit Tom Cruise for that, because it's all about him. So, and look, at his age, to be doing what he's doing, you gotta love it. So, the movie looks like fun. So you're saying that I could just really drop in on any one of these and enjoy it for what it is without knowing anything about what's happened before?
Yeah, if you don't overplay it, I think that's a sign of, I don't know if it's a good movie, but an enjoyable movie. I think you had referenced, like even with Marvel, I don't think you need to. No, I don't think you need to. You know, you'll get probably a little bit of exposition as where they left off on the last one. And if you just enjoy it for what it is,
all right,
I think
maybe I'll give it a shot, because seeing Top Gun on the big screen yesterday, it definitely makes a difference.
Okay, Groo, Fabricio Werdum feels that despite being immensely talented, Hollywood actor Jean-Claude Van Damme has a massive ego. Groo, who is Fabricio Werdum? Werdum is a Brazilian mixed martial artist and former UFC heavyweight champion. Fabricio Werdum shared a story about Van Damme from the set of his 2018 action flick, Kickboxer Retaliation, that could leave you surprised. Kickboxer Retaliation is the 7th movie in the popular Kickboxer film series, Yaha, and featured Van Damme in the role of Master Durand. The movie also featured Werdum as a fellow inmate of the protagonist Kurt Sloan. During a recent appearance on the Intelligentsia podcast, Werdum accused Van Damme of intentionally kicking a fellow actor on the set of a movie. According to Werdum, despite knowing how to avoid hitting his fellow actor, Van Damme ended up landing a full-fledged front kick on the guy, injuring him badly. Quote, "There was a scene where I was helping Van Damme to train this boy. I was Van Damme's sidekick. There was a scene where we had to blindfold the guy. It was a real blindfold. It really covered his eyes, and he'd have to fight blindfolded, right? Van Damme kicked this boy in the belly so hard that you have no idea. It passed through the boy. He kicked. I was right next to him. I knew when it's real and when it's not. He slashed through the boy with his shoe. The boy cringed and started to sweat, bro. He was sweating cold. He started to sweat. He's a nice guy, kind of grumpy, but he's full of ego. Werdum respects Van Damme's kicking technique and skill set as a martial artist, but does not condone his decision to intentionally hurt a fellow actor during the shoot. The 44-year-old Brazilian stated that had the actor kicked him during the shoot, he would have, quote, knocked him out right there. Quote, I was already thinking if he had done that to me, I would have knocked Van Damme out right there. I thought if he does this to me, I'll step on his head. It's been over a year since Fabricio Werdum last entered the cage to compete in a professional MMA bout. Groo, now we have an article that alleges Van Damme is kind of acting like a dick too. Thoughts?
Well, I'm interested to see the court papers on this. Must have been, I mean, the person who was assaulted must have filed charges. And
come on, you don't. I don't know that to be true or not.
Of course, it's not true. Come on, this guy Fabricio, whatever the hell his name is, he I mean, look, could very well be true. All right, but you take that to get that from that, meaning like, okay, here's a guy, you're doing a stunt, sometimes stunts go wrong, you're going to accuse the guy of actually kicking this kid on purpose and injuring him, and the only one we're hearing about it from is this guy? I don't buy it. I'm not buying it. A guy who's looking for fame, who's trying to, whose job it is to promote. He is you said he's an MMA fighter?
Former MMA fighter, yes.
So his job is to take little things and make them big things. And to me, that's what he's doing here. If I heard one other report of this incident that he's referring to, I'd be more interested in it. But it's the first I'm hearing of it, and probably the last. So I hope he's enjoying I hope he's enjoying his newfound fame.
Well, listen, wow. I don't disagree with you because I feel like when we go over some of this stuff, I'm the one who usually says, hey, there's got to be smoke with fire, meaning if you hear multiple reports. So I definitely don't disagree with what you're saying, but I do give a little credit. I mean, why would an MMA guy who's a striker, who knows the art of striking and knows how to strike and pull punches, I don't know. I feel like, I don't know what benefit would it be to him to go on a podcast and accuse it.
I'll tell you.
You're looking at
because 3 minutes ago I didn't know this guy's name. Now I do.
Okay.
There you go. He wins. That's really it.
Fabricio Werdum, you win. Here's a meaty tidbit. Oh, look at it. I sound like Entertainment Tonight. Here's a meaty tidbit of on Lord Steven Seagal from slashfilm.com. To say, Groo, that Predator 2 is divisive would be an understatement. Fans of the famed Predator movies either adore Predator 2 for its ridiculousness or despise it for the same reason. Regardless of your opinion, fans could agree that its main character, LAPD Lieutenant Mike Harrigan, played by Danny Glover, was straight-laced but still a fun addition to the franchise. Many fans know that Harrigan was supposed to team up with Arnold Schwarzenegger's Alan Dutch Schaefer, the main character from the 1987 movie, for the sequel. However, Arnold was unable to return for the sequel, prompting the casting of Gary Busey as Special Agent Peter Keyes. Director of Predator 2, Stephen Hopkins, told Screen Magazine in an interview that Busey wasn't the first actor considered for the role. In fact, Steven Seagal, the controversial martial artist whose career was on the verge of taking off at that time, was briefly up for consideration. However, it turned out that he wasn't looking to play Keyes at all. Hopkins said that the meeting took place in Seagal's house in a room supposedly decked out with guns. Hopkins even said that Seagal crushed his hand on a handshake. Whether or not this was an exaggeration remains to be seen. Directors soon discovered that Seagal was looking for a very specific role for the movie, one that was not in the script and eventually would not end up in the movie. And if you remember, Groo, there was a very famous scene in Predator 2 where the character was a voodoo practicing mob boss. If you're wondering how Seagal's idea compared to the characters like this is what he had in store. Hopkins said he wanted to play a CIA psychiatrist who was also a martial arts expert and carried a gun. I listened to him for a long time, and he was clearly a little crazy at the time. I said, this is different from the way we are going, so I guess we shouldn't do this. Despite Hopkins' disapproval, Steven Seagal apparently was relentless. The director recalled the actor trying to maintain composure upon hearing the news before sweetening the deal with an unusual bribe. He became really keen, quote, he became really keen to do it. He threw his arm around me on the way out and said, I want you to come to my ranch in Santa Barbara because I've got a grenade launching range there so we can go out and launch grenades together, said Hopkins. Yeah, that'll seal the deal. Let you and me go launch some grenades. And it did not.
30 seconds. 30 seconds.
Oh, we on?
No, 30 seconds. 30 seconds.
I thought you were timing me out as the director.
No.
So obviously it did not go the way of Steven Seagal. Obviously Seagal was not in Predator 2. Hopkins said he agreed to meet up with him at some point, even though the grenade launching meeting never happened. It sounded like Hopkins made up his mind right then and there. The Predator franchise, Groo, already has had some exhilarating ups and a lot of downs. Groo, any thoughts potentially Steven Seagal in Predator 2?
That would have. I know where they were headed with that. Would have been interesting, but Predator 2. The tragedy of Predator 2 is that they just should have fucking waited for Arnold. I mean, you don't do that unless you want to go direct to video, and that's kind of what the franchise became. If Arnold said no, that's one thing. But if he wasn't available, then you know what? You wait. You don't replace Arnold Schwarzenegger with Gary Busey. All right? I'm sorry, it's not going to work.
Well, it was No. It was Danny Glover, and Busey played like a special agent kind of government thing.
Right, but wasn't it going to be like Glover and Schwarzenegger, kind of like a buddy thing?
All right, I guess you're right. Yeah, they weren't buddies though. If you remember, Busey was like the.
I don't remember the movie enough because I remember hating it.
Well, I think you're going to kill me on this one. I actually think Predator 2 had a kitschy kind of charm. I like the fact that they brought it to like an urban city in the summer, like that heat. LA, it's clearly not Predator. I mean, the first Predator is,
it's kind in the jungle.
A wonderfully perfect sort of 80s, 90s action movie. I loved it. I did not kill Predator 2 as much as others, but,
anyway, I remember seeing Predator 2 saying the whole time, like, where's Arnold? Like, it's like Terminator.
At least you got Morton Downey Jr.
Yes. I forgot about that.
And you have a great Aliens Easter egg that led to the Aliens versus Predator movie. If you remember when he goes on the Predator ship, they have all those trophies, and one of them is a alien face hugger skull.
Shit. Now you're going to make me watch Predator 2 again because that's interesting. I forgot.
Drew, any interest to watch the new teaser trailer for the new Predator film?
Absolutely.
It's called Prey. It's supposed to be on Hulu. It's a quick teaser. Let me see if I could.
It's direct to streaming.
Come on, give it a shot.
Of course I will.
Here we go. Prey. It's going to be on Hulu 2022.
From the direct. Ooh. That's no small thing. Take it off. I kind of like this already. August 5th. What happened? Well, either way, it looks good. I mean, I kind of like kind of intense there.
Yeah, they're supposedly bringing it back to like
the jungle.
It's like no, it's supposed to be like in our maybe like the 1800s, and it's like a Native American
All right, that's creative.
Tribe.
That's creative.
Yeah.
Because I did like. Go ahead.
The first day it's posting on Hulu, I am getting a bag of popcorn.
Oh yeah, you are the biggest Alien and Predator fan that I know. I'm more of an Alien guy, but I did like the second Alien vs. Predator.
No, the first one is by far better.
I think I like the second one better.
Oh no, how dare you? No.
I like the R-rated one better. Which one was the R-rated one?
That one was first of all, it was shot all at night and rain. It was terrible. Neither one are great, but I'll give the first one. It had a little bit of backstory. You know, it had the alien, the queen alien, like cryogenically in that like Egyptian chamber in which it's discovered by a team, and they go down there, and they somehow tip off the predators. They give a whole backstory, but I don't want to get into that. I'm just saying I am looking forward to this, even though it's straight to streaming.
I'll watch it. I'll watch that. Yeah,
right.
I'm into these type of things.
I mean, Predator, great. Predator 2, okay. The first sequel, Predators, with Adrian Brody, was really good.
I heard it was good. You said it was good. I have to watch that.
Yeah, the next one, The Predator, was hot garbage.
Oh, yeah.
The last one they did.
Well, maybe this one it's definitely, and the director of 10 Cloverfield Lane. I mean, that was a hit. I'm pretty sure. I'm interested.
Yeah, listen, this last item, I know it's a weak one. I basically was talking about the whole Stallone and Lundgren, that Lundgren put Stallone in the hospital during Rocky 4. Are you aware of that?
Yeah. That's gone around for years.
And then the article goes on to say that Stallone and Lundgren will be working together again in Expendables. Expendables 4, which I think the trailer is out for, I believe.
I don't think so. I haven't seen one.
All right. Well, and then the article talks about, it also dovetails into the next chapter in the Rocky franchise, Creed 3, which is scheduled for November 23rd, 2022. Do you want to talk briefly about potentially what's going down for Creed 3, or you want to just end this?
No, we can talk about it. I mean, I can tell you my thoughts.
Go ahead.
Right now, I'm not interested. No, I'm just not interested because even though it's called Creed, the franchise is the Rocky franchise, and without Stallone, it doesn't carry that weight. Now, if the movie comes out and it's supposed to be good and it's supposed to be worthy, I'll definitely go see it. But it's not. But unlike the other ones, like if Stallone's playing Rocky, I'm there on the first day. Always have been, always will be. But if Stallone's not in it, then I gotta wait and see see what it's all about. So right now, I kind of wish they weren't doing it, but there's talented people there, so maybe it'll be something. Maybe it'll be something fun. We'll see.
All right, you just saved 15 minutes. See, I'm not quite as harsh. Let's say Creed 3 comes out. I'm not saying I'm going to go the first weekend, but and I hear what because I think Ryan mentioned the same thing. I hear it's not without Stallone, but there's enough there for me to be interested. And yes, I'll agree with you that if word of mouth is very strong on the movie, I'll definitely go and see it. I would probably go and see it anyway without Stallone. Probably not the first weekend. If the word of mouth is weak, then maybe I'll make it a miss. But I'll be curious where they go.
So we agree. So we pretty much agree. We're gonna go. We're gonna go see it if it's supposedly worth seeing. That's all.
All right.
Yeah.
Boy, these podcasts, the momentum always just
maybe it's because sometimes
an hour and a half ago we were like point counterpoint with Van Damme.
No, maybe you know what? Maybe maybe this is telling us that we should build up to the main event instead of doing the main event first.
Well, I just Universal Soldier was, I think, a strong topic.
That's true.
And I don't know. I feel like I don't know strategy wise. I don't know if people listen and go and bail and say, "Hey, I'm listening to this podcast because they're going to talk about Universal Soldier," and then we spend 40 minutes talking about WWE, and then we talk about a couple of news articles, and then it's like they have to dig in for 90 minutes. But that's
you know what? That's what's good about these things, as opposed to like the radio. Every single service you can pause, fast forward, go to. You can move around. So. It's got, if there are people who just listen to us because they want to know what we're watching on TV this week, they can find that part in the podcast and listen to that and then move on. Then, of course, go to New You and get 15% off.
That's right. So, Andrew, you just mentioned it. Before we take it home, so to speak, Andrew, give us one thing you're watching this week.
Can I give you two things I'm watching this week?
It's a free country.
One thing that I am watching this week, I'm certainly watching.
Well, give us your major recommendation.
All right, major recommendation is the Obi-Wan Kenobi series on Disney Plus. There seems to be some divisiveness in the Star Wars empire, as it were. I am totally blown away by this series so far. There have been 3 episodes, and there are 3 to go. I think it's absolutely phenomenal, and for me to talk about it anymore would be to spoil it. So I give it a very, very high recommendation. I cannot wait until Wednesday, until the 4th episode drops on Wednesday. So that's my big major one. And another one that I just wanted to say that I'm rewatching, I've rewatched it a few times, is a show on Amazon called Hunters. Which I was a huge fan of when it first came out, and I've rewatched it a few times, and it's really it's Al Pacino. Have you heard of it? You know Hunters?
I bailed on Hunters.
Oh, you did?
Yes,
to me it gets better and better with each viewing. So I was watching that this week, but the main one is definitely Obi-Wan Kenobi. Check it out. if you can.
Yeah, sorry, I don't watch Amazon Prime.
unless it's with my credentials.
No, what do you want me to watch? You want me to watch the Walmart channel next? No, I'm joking. I would watch the Walmart channel.
Yeah.
No, I am only kidding. I'm a huge fan of Amazon's The Boys series. That's a superhero sort of send-up. That's a series.
Right.
I think you'd probably like it as well. Andrew, one thing I'm watching this week, this took me by surprise. I'm going to recommend on Netflix 2010, Will Ferrell, Everything Must Go. This was perhaps a Wednesday or Thursday night. I want to say the girlfriend was working late and just looking to kill some time, didn't really have anything queued up, and found this movie. I will not give the overall review. Will Ferrell is a high-level executive, corporate executive who gets fired, struggles with alcoholism, failing marriage. Wife locks him out of the house. Has a note.
He has all his shit out in the front, right?
Yep.
I've never seen the movie, but I've seen it. But I've seen the,
Yeah, Christopher Wallace, the son of Biggie Smalls, plays a kid neighbor that befriends down and out Will Ferrell. It's just one of those movies you go into with no expectations. And here, Will Ferrell, he doesn't give you the typical, which I do love from time to time, the typical dumbed down slapstick performance. He gives it a nice, nuanced, serious comedic performance here. Showing what he could do with some serious roles. It's definitely meatier, and I would highly recommend Will Ferrell 2010, Everything Must Go.
All right. I've never seen it. I'm very familiar with it, but I will, on your say-so, I will check it out. My brother.
All right, Andrew, check us out next week. We're going to stay in the land of Van Dammit.
Yes.
However, we're going to take a 1 month a 1 month vacation from Jean-Claude. Actually, we may do a 2 month vacation. Andrew and I are going to do our 1980s cheese pick'em. So we're going to pick a 1980s cheesy action flick, so to speak. And Andrew was given the first selection, and Andrew Gruthius has selected 1987 Sylvester Stallone arm wrestling drama tour de force, Over the Top, Dad. Some fight for money, some fight for glory. He's fighting for his son's love. Groo, Stallone, I know it's one you love, Over the Top.
I'm really excited to do this one for this reason, and almost this reason only, because I need you to walk me through this movie and tell me what I'm not seeing. I am the only one I know who loves this movie. Tell me what I'm missing. That's what I need from you when we cover this one. Walk me through it.
I gotta watch it.
You gotta walk me through it.
I gotta watch it again. I feel like it had an every way but loose kind of charm. But I don't want to say much more. I am looking forward to it because I do remember I do remember enjoying parts of this movie for sure.
But even the Stallone guys on our brethren over there, they hate it too.
I don't think I've seen it since 1987. I mean, we're going back.
That makes me even more excited because I need somebody to hold me by the hand and tell me what's wrong with this movie, because I've seen it dozens of times and I love it every time. But let's save that for next time.
Yeah, all right. Check out this podcast. We'll post it up on our Facebook pages and the Nothing Worthwhile Facebook page. That's it for this episode of Van Dammit. Andrew, I bid you a fond adieu and take us out of here.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for joining us on this journey back to 1992 with the JCVD / Dolph Lundgren two-hander Universal Soldier. Join us next week when we double dip in the Van Dammit universe, expanding out a little bit into the Stalloneverse with 1987's Over the Top. So ladies and gentlemen, next week, we will see you then. And until then, ladies and gentlemen, 1, 2.
Whoa, no.
What happened?
Retreat.
Oh, yeah. Oh, sorry.
Oh, Lord.
Hold on. Let's go backwards. All right. No retreat.
No surrender, brother.
See you next time.
I like two-hander.
I love
Just
go with it. Just go with it.